Good evening and welcome to another community forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and of course my co-host here is Chris Diani. Good night, Chris. Good night, all.
Good night, viewers, and welcome again to another episode of Beyond Community Forum. Sorry about that. And we're hoping that we could keep you very much intrigued tonight with our chit-chat and sports and music.
Sports and music. That's what we have tonight. We have an interesting program. Stay with us. We take a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome to Community Forum. Today, the 21st of February, 2024. Time is moving rapidly, Chris, you know. But the first thing I want to touch on tonight, Chris, is there was a media award last Sunday night, and 21 awards were given. Were given to media practitioners, but I want to pull out one of our own at MTV. That is, it's a big deal for us here, Nikita. Nikita hosting. Her award was powerful, a special award for powerful women in the media. And Nikita, of course, has been with us here over the weeks, assisting everywhere, technical, cameras, and so I want to big her up. I want to say congratulations, Nikita. I wish I could have you here to talk to you tonight, but congratulations. A big deal, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, any time you get an award in events like that, it's a big deal. And you know, the award is interesting. A powerful woman in media.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Nikita, she doesn't look really big and powerful.
No.
But I mean, it's certainly the issue that, of course, what she contributes, her acumen, you know, her ability to handle various aspects of media, whether it's camera or whatever. And I suppose her ability to produce pieces is what she was, you know, highlighted for the award. So I want to add my congratulations, Nikki, and to say keep on doing the good work. I think there's much more you're going to get at.
The other dimension of the award ceremony was that some 21 awards were given out, but only 1 for print. What is that saying about the print media? It's
I think print is on its way out. When you think about it, because most of the newspapers we have now is sent electronically.
Yeah.
And you wonder that with the cost of print, and you know, flying it up from Trinidad and all of that, and the vagaries of that. I mean, you know, print is.
Before I go on, though, I just want to mention that some of our guests are on, and I want to say to you, stay on. We're going to let you know. Our technical personnel will let you know when to come on. So good night and stay with us. Another interesting part about the awards was that the first vice president, I think it was talking, Calistro. She was on, and she made 2 points, which I thought was very important. The first one she said was that she referenced what may be emerging as a new government policy. She indicated that where she's interviewed the Prime Minister several times before, she said the new standards now is that they're asking for prepared questions to be presented before an interview is granted, and that was considered, in her opinion, as
certain level of restriction and sanction.
Restrictions, yeah, in terms of the availability of politicians generally. I mean, I know MTV has made several attempts to interview and for this program also ministers, and without success. So what's happening, I don't know. The other point she made was had to do with the event was poorly attended by the practitioners themselves. So there is an issue within the organization or the involvement of media practitioners. But it's an important function, it's an important organization. I really want to encourage them to be involved and to.
Well, I mean, I think media in Grenada needs probably a shake-up of some sort.
Yeah.
And to get them, because there's a lot of issues about the media in terms of biasness, in terms of their level of questioning and their knowledge about certain subject areas, and investigative journalism. It's almost an ancient thing within the circles of the media world for Grenada. But I think Alistra's issue about the structured questions prior to getting a minister speaks. You could almost say it interferes with press freedom to some degree, because in my view, if you put yourself up for public office, when the Prime Minister comes down and a media person approaches you, you can't tell them what to ask or what they should ask in order for you to be prepared. You could always decline to answer a question, but you must, the journalist must have the freedom to ask you on any subject area that they think is of concern. And structured questions prior to is saying that if you come with questions outside what they think they could deal with, they wouldn't entertain. So it's like restricting to some degree. So I think it's something of concern that needs to follow up.
Valid point she made. Chris, the question of traffic and public transportation. First point I want to make is public transportation. I've been speaking to regular people who use public transportation, and what they indicated, there's a problem with public transportation, particularly from St. George's to most parts of the island. I think with the exception to the south of the island, that public transportation is not available after 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you know. It affects commerce, it affects people moving, people working different shifts. So this is something that the Transport Authority, the Bus Association, the authorities need to pay attention to, because it affects livelihoods and income.
Well, I have said this on more than one program, Byron, this one and others, that, and I say it with no apology, the government needs to get involved in having public transport and have their own transport, national transport service. It operates on a lot of other islands. Barbados operates along with the private. Trinidad, they operate along with the private. So it is one of those things where, as you said, it kills commerce. Could you imagine you're living in St. David's, some part in St. David's, and the bus stop running at 7. You want to take out your girlfriend or your wife to dinner somewhere in the south, and you can't move. So the restaurants in the south now don't get the kind of business they ought to. They will close early and all of that. And the whole issue of commerce in general, stores can't open.
I come from work, I can't go home.
You want to shop after you come from work. Only the supermarkets are available beyond those hours, and even then, getting to and from where you're living is a difficulty. So I think one of the solutions, of course, in discussions with the current bus owners, is that we have to have a public transport service working alongside. And I have said to government on different forums that we start with EV for national transport and public transport. And we start with the school children and offer them, and then, and of course, retirees over 60. And then we run from 6 to 12 in the night, or up to 12 o'clock in the night. So you're kind of sure that you could move from different areas of the country. I mean, imagine,
that would be transformative, huh?
Yeah, imagine the people living in Satés that have to sometimes take a bus from town to St. Andrews, and from St. Andrews to Satés, because they can't get one from town to straight to Satés, because they stop running around 5, 6, the last trip. And a lot of these people working may finish 4:30. By the time they get to the bus terminal, all buses gone, so they had to go too. So it's costing them more, and then the society is at a standstill after that. So I mean, I don't know, as you say, it's transformative, and I really hope the government can take it there. The other issue I want to talk about in traffic is the issue of what I see happening with private transport and the disregard for laws. And what we understand is normal traffic, give way to traffic on the right. Nobody is giving way to traffic lane, it's who reach first pass, right? Some people not obeying the traffic lights. I have been on the traffic light green, and a man drive off on the other side. I want to blow him, he's looking at me as though from another world. My side was green. Obviously, his side had to be red. Right? So you don't understand what red and green mean.
Please, yeah.
So we need to, the police need to take something. A guy overtake me on the left today, in the avenue, Archibald Avenue, on the left. I mean, we just not paying attention, and that must be contributing to all the accidents that we have.
Clearly.
Everybody just doing
So
what
it's
they
just
want.
common sense, courtesy.
Yeah, but I think the only way sometimes, people only pay attention when you come down with a bullwhip.
Or with a high beam, the
Well,
people
that's
that were
another
not
one.
dimming,
You have to stop it.
It's like, and responding with your high beam is not a good reaction, because you blind the other guy. He's not seeing you now. They are not seeing you now. Chris, the other point is that of transportation. I know that the ongoing, and I just want to preempt it with saying that, because the ongoing conflict in the Middle East is in fact having some transportation cost implications to us. So sometimes we think, well, it's far away from us, it's not going to affect us, blah, blah, blah. But it is, isn't it?
Yeah, the Panama Canal, we could start there.
Yeah.
Because the water levels in the Panama Canal is so low. Because drought issues in the Panama region and the mountain region, where the river and the water flows down into the canal.
Yeah.
Remember, we move boats along in the canal by locks. We lock, the water rises, and the boat moves.
That's correct.
And you do second, and it continues.
That's correct.
But if you don't have the water levels to raise the ship a certain height, the ship can't move along. So they have to wait for high tide and other things and so on. So it's causing significant delays, and it's increasing the cost, because if the ship anchor outside for 3 weeks waiting for others in line to get, it's a big cost. Then you say, okay, let's check the other one, which is the Suez Canal, and what's happening there, coming through
the Red Sea.
That's in the Red Sea area. And then you have the issue with piracy with the Hutus and all of them doing what they want. And there's war, the US and the English firing drones at them, and there's a war. And again, if you were to go around the Cape, in South Africa to come around, it's taking a month more and $1 million more in shipping costs because of fuel and the time. So here is this whole, so dependent on moving cargo from places like the East, China and so on, and these parts of the world into our Western area, Latin America and so on and so forth. Cost is going to increase, and the average cost of a bar cheese, if we thought we were paying $10 and $15 a pound before, it probably will go to $20 and $25.
So this is going to affect us.
It will.
Bottom line.
Because we are net importers.
We're net importers.
Small islands like us, and primarily along food.
So be prepared. Chris, as we talk about the Gaza situation, the Middle East, another resolution, Security Council resolution on the ceasefire in Gaza was shot down again by the United States. This is the fourth. Tells you about the complicity of some nations in the genocide taking place in Gaza. A fourth one. But what's interesting is that there's an ongoing ICJ, International Court of Justice, hearing in The Hague taking place right now. And 52 countries are presenting in this hearing for the week over a 6-day period. But this has to do, this goes beyond the Gaza war. This goes with the
Ukraine and Russia.
the Israeli occupation, the occupation territory, and wants the court to rule on it. And I think it's interesting. And again, as this war goes on, and now the numbers are like 30,000 people and 30,000 killed, 14,000 children. Where's it going?
But here's the U.S. pushing for the two-state solution.
Yes.
They want a two-state solution as a permanent solution.
Yes.
And here they're shooting down in the UN.
For the fourth time.
Yeah, the issue of ceasefire.
Yeah.
Because Netanyahu believes that the only way to do, and Netanyahu not listening to anybody, Europeans or whoever. And the only way you could pressure Netanyahu is removing your military support for this war, which they're not doing.
No.
Because it is in their interest as well. The more they sell to him is the more they make money. So it is a money-making thing as well. So
But again, and every week I ask, what is Grenada's position? You know, I want to hear a little more on foreign policy, where we stand. I know Belize is there presenting, interestingly. Chris, I just picked up, you know, the president of the Caribbean Development Bank sent on administrative leave to April. And the bank is saying due to an ongoing administrative process. Administrative leave for like 3 months, like February, March, April, you know, that's a, what does it mean? What does that tell you?
well, obviously something is not correct at the CDB. If the president of the CDB is being put on administrative leave, there is obvious something in the matter besides the pestle. Of course, in these things you have to take your time before you enunciate, because there's two sides to the story.
Of course,
and he has to be given an opportunity to defend himself, whatever it is that they send him on leave for. So I mean, let's see how it develops. Next week we're going to end now, but next week I want to take up the issue of the crisis at the General Hospital and the whole health issue that is developing in Grenada, or not developing.
So we want to spend some time on that, yes.
So
interesting.
Leave that for next week. I know our program time is running fast.
And we have, of course, we have joining us, we're going to have the Harper Music School with its founder and senior tutor, that is Kenrick Harper. We're going to have him. And we're also going to have sports coming up later. We're going to have the Grenada Athletic Association. We'll be talking about the Ariza National Champs.
You have Ariza, you have Intercol, and you have Carifta.
So I want to tell our guests to stay there. We'll be taking a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna be going to do some music. We're gonna be Chris. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
At Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, we sell engines for all mixer vehicles: Toyota GT Corolla 6-speed, Toyota MR2, and Evolution 3. We've got transmissions for Toyota Noah, 2.0 Suzuki Escudo, Toyota Corolla. Windscreens for Grand Vitara, 2 and 4-door Escudo, Toyota Corolla front and back, and Suzuki Escudo wheel covers. Also available are motor oil, oil filters, crystal headlights for Toyota Corolla, brakes for all makes of vehicles. We sell C16 and Q16 racing fuel. Special prices on oils and accessories for customers who purchase vehicles from us. You're never left undone because we source the part if we don't have it. Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, empowering people through mobility.
Welcome back, viewers, listeners, and we have, as I told you earlier on, we have Kenrick Harper. Kenrick is the founder and the senior tutor at the Harper's Music School, and they're located in St. Andrews in Grenville. Mr. Harper, good night, good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Right, but before we ask your question, we want to play for our audience a performance of your school, your students, this was last week, I believe, and you could talk about it afterwards. This was at the St. Andrews celebration, or the 50th anniversary celebrations. So Let's just listen and view this. Kenrick, are you there? Well, I just want to say congratulations. What you thought of this, Chris? I mean,
Oh,
this
it's
performance.
amazing to see these young men and women in this
Yeah.
in this band, and you know, any band that has instruments takes a lot of practice. You ever try
Yeah.
to blow a bugle or one of those things, Byron? It takes a lot of practice and a lot of strength.
Yeah.
And to keep the music and to keep the tune, I mean, it's excellent work that Mr. Harper is
Yeah, I
doing.
mean, and I'm still trying to find you. Yeah, Kenrick, you're there. Can you hear us?
I'm here. Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations. I mean, this is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
The
Thank
Harper
you.
Music School. So tell us about the school. I mean, where the idea came from. I mean, you're the founder. Amazing work. Tell us about it.
Harper's Music Services started about 2015. It's if I didn't do it, I'd be a miserable soul. I think it has become my life's work. I think this is what I'm here to do. And the music school is just part of. There are about three things that happen with Harper's Music Services: the music education services that the band you saw falls under. I also do musical accompaniment and performances, and the third thing is that of sheet music production. That's of scoring music so that bands can read and play. So all the music that you saw the kids were playing there, I sat and transcribed it and arranged it for them to play. So that service is also offered to the public as well.
Awesome. What is the response to the community, the Grenville community, all these young girls and boys? How affordable is it? And what is the response generally to the community towards the school, towards the training?
Well, I must say thanks to all the parents and the schools who have so far been supporting, and it's not limited to St. Andrew, I might say. There are schools in St. Patrick, there's schools in PBC, for example, that I'm the director of the orchestra at PBC, and there are other schools who are about to get on board, who are inquiring. So I'm open to the entire country, and also looking forward to hiring other similarly enthusiastic young musicians who are willing to help tutor, because as of now, my hands is becoming really filled.
So, Mr. Harper, one of the things I want to ask you about is the music is such an interesting vocation for young people, because especially our boys and our girls, it keeps them away from, you know, getting involved in other activities that the society may term as not correct. But with music, it trains the mind to be disciplined about an approach and how you do things, because with music you have to keep, you know, your chords, you have to practice. It's a discipline. How is it that you're seeing this making an impact in the young people's lives as this develops and they develop the love for the music?
Well, already I'm seeing that the majority of the students at my music school, you find that they're involved in other activities. They're always busy. I'm already seeing some of them heading into not necessarily music careers, but other careers. Who wants to be get into law, who wants to get into cricket, who wants to get into engineering. But as I always tell them that I don't teach for children to become musicians. I teach so that they can become better human beings. So all the learning to sit for a moment. You know, a lot of kids their attention span may be very short, but now we have kids who are learning to sit still for a while and wait on somebody else. So they're learning tolerance, because it's not my section yet, but I have to wait. So there's a lot of things that they're learning at this time, and I'm already seeing how so many of them are developing. They're in many other groups and organizations, and they're kept away from trouble.
That when children are exposed to music, the entire educational process and their ability to learn improves significantly. It has been tried, it has been proven scientifically. So in your situation, apart from commending you on what you're doing, how is the rural side of Grenada, apart from those that we've seen in PBC? Because some of these schools have drum corps, which you could talk about as being part of the music scene. But how do you see the the introduction of all the air instruments that you have been exposing them to, how is that coming along with the students? Are they falling in love with it? Some of them with the sax and the other trumpets. How is that? How is that developing, especially among the boys and the girls?
All right. First of all, it's not just at PBC because the majority of the kids, there were about 20-something of them who were from St. Andrew. Those kids who you might have seen at the PBC orchestra, these are the kids that live in St. Andrew. So our rural community is actually getting at really benefiting from this, and I hope I could do a lot more in that regard. Many of the kids, I'm amazed at some of these kids here. Some are just naturally talented, and they just actually was just accepting what I had to give to them, what I had to teach them, what I had to. But some of them are naturals, and there are others who you see being in the process is helping them in many regards. And I've seen how far they've come. Some of them have come already, and I can say that these kids that are doing music right now, I think that they have a bright future ahead of them.
So
I really do.
Is the government through the Ministry of Education assisting with cost of instruments, potential for scholarships? Because we talk about the creative industry, and this is a big part of the government's push.
Yeah.
How are they going to link with you? What is your engagement with them to provide scholarships for these students who have exceptional ability and potential to move to the heights of a Kenny G, if so far if it be? How is that conversation with the Ministry of Education going, if at all?
So, first of all, I must say I'm grateful that from the Office of Creative Affairs, I have already received assistance that I've got a scholarship for 2 of the courses that was offered at TAMCC. And of course, I would have I've benefited from the concession that is offered. I'm still in the process of being able to get to the next level. I have had some conversations, and which I expect we take it to another level. But we're not there yet. But I anticipate that there will be much more, based on preliminary discussions, there will be some further engagement, and I'm also willing to engage them and let them know exactly what I'm about. I think many of them already do, and it's just a matter of taking to the next level. And I want to be optimistic that based on their pronouncement that there will be further support and so. But as for now, it has been pretty much a private effort. But I'm ready and willing to engage in public-private arrangements, so that I can continue to, as I say, share the gift of music. So I look forward to those further engagements.
Well, Mr. Harper, let me tell you congrats again, and you know, I'm amazed at the ability that you're bringing out of these young people and the engagement, and I know it is going to be positive results for our country and for them in general.
Yeah, Community Forum has that kind of responsibility to highlight and to air this. But just quickly, what's the ratio? I know that parents play a major role in having their children, because these are children, yeah? But what's the ratio male-female attending the classes or learning music?
It's a pretty good mix, you know.
Yeah.
It's if you look at the video, there was a really good mix of male to female.
Okay, excellent. The other point I want to raise briefly is that with electronic music is taking over. It's a big deal. It's gaining a lot of traction. Do you see any threat from electronic music with what you're doing and traditional music, instrumental, brass, and other music, live music?
Time changes, and we expect those changes to take place. But I ever so often do get the comments that people want real musicians. They want live music. I mean, just think of so many ingredients who show up to those live concerts. Wanted to see a real keyboard player, a real drummer, and I mean, there are some people who go to a show just to see a drummer. Who wants to just see the bass player. You know what I mean? So I think that there will always be need for real live musicians. Because even though we have the electronic music, remember the knowledge of the music theory still needs to be there. So there is a need for those who have studied the music theory and who can play real musical instruments. However, we know what we also see is that there is a marriage of the two.
Yeah.
So those students who are involved in playing those real musical instruments, they need to learn to add the technology to what they're doing. I always tell them, however, that they should focus on learning the fundamentals of music, because it's easier to just press a button and play something that is sequenced. But learning to play an instrument takes a bit more.
Kenrick, I want to join with Chris, colleague here, to congratulate you on the work that you're doing. It's very important work, and we want to wish you well and encourage parents to expose their children to music because of the other discipline that is factored in here in that process. And before you leave, we're going to give a little final piece of that music before we go. When we get back, we will be speaking to the Quincy Hippolyte, that's a PRO from the Grenada Athletic Association, talking about the Ariza Championship sports event coming up. So thank you very much, Mr. Harper. Do have a good evening. Glad for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much. Quincy Hippolyte, are you there? Hello?
Oh, good night.
Good night. How are you, sir?
Not bad.
Well, good night and welcome to Community Forum. We're really glad to have you. So your event, which of course is the Ariza Champ. Give us the real name of it. We want you to tell us what the importance of this event. When is it happening? What the expectations are?
Well, the Grenada Athletic Association hosts its annual track and field event, which we dub the Ariza National Champ. Over the years, Ariza partnered with the Grenada Athletic Association in ensuring that we host this championship that is oftentimes used to select athletes for national and regional competition. So this year, the Ariza National Champ will take place at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Saturday the 2nd March and Sunday 3rd March. Patrons can really and truly expect some of our best local, best youth athletes, youth and junior athletes on display at these championships.
So there's a new track. A new track has been laid in the stadium as we speak. I'm to understand. So is that the first event to be held on the new track?
Yes, certainly the national championships will be the first event on the newly refurbished Kirani James Athletic Stadium, the track that is presently being laid at the stadium.
In terms of the participants, when you compare this to the intercall, is it the same athletes? Because you're talking about our national athletes from the various schools can participate. Whose participation? How is it zoned? Is it by parish, individuals? How is the competition organized for this event?
The participants for the national championships oftentimes is derived from the affiliates of the Grenada Athletic Association.
Yeah.
The affiliates of the Grenada Athletic Association comprises of the secondary schools as well as varying clubs that you would find throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. So essentially, the championships will be looking towards attracting athletes in the under 9 category as well as under 9 to the 20 plus senior age range.
How does this event, your national champ, link with the Carifta Games? I mean, are you looking at the potentials of the athletes there? How is there any linkage?
Yes, the championship is linked in that the Grenada Athletic Association oftentimes selects the athletes who will represent Grenada at the Carifta Games. So this year, the championship will allow us to shortlist athletes in the varying events for the Carifta Games. So at the end of the day, we would be able to name and list the athletes, the athletes who will become ultimate national champions, who will go on to represent Grenada at the Carifta Games.
In Mr. PRO, one of the concerns, or not concern, logistical issues, your games are coming quite early in compared to the intercall. And intercall is also used as a gauge to select the best performing athletes for national events. How is that going to be reconciled with your games on the 2nd and the 3rd and intercall on the 12th and 13th, both in the male and female category?
Well, the idea firstly is to be able to identify the athletes who will ultimately represent us at our regional competitions. The intercall games, because the games is held prior to, it gives the athletes the opportunity to get that gauge towards the intercall, which is oftentimes which is often the largest track and field event we have locally. And that in itself would allow patrons that preview of athletes towards those championships. And the intercall games, which features the best junior athletes at this high school level, would allow the athletes that second opportunity to showcase their talent. So we are pleased that this year that we have the cooperation of the Grenada Principals Association in hosting the intercall games 1 week earlier. Now that would allow the athletes who selected for the Carifta Games the opportunity to ensure that they are recovered, that they are able to recuperate from the performance, the 3 days of active competition at the intercall championships, which will allow them to give their best performance at the Carifta Games 2 weeks thereafter.
I was about to ask you about that, the management of the athletes' physical exhaustion with all of these events. Yours is the 2nd and 3rd, as we say, intercall is the next weekend or weekend thereafter, and then Carifta is at the end of the month. So the issue is how do the Athletic Association manage the athletes in terms of those who may have minor injuries and recovery and so on, and is there room for the athletes performing at their best, because these events are coming one after the other?
Yes, and that's one of the concerns that we always have when it comes to intercall being staged so close to the regional championship of character. What we have done over the years is to work with the pre-selected athletes. So from September, we oftentimes will highlight or identify a group of athletes who can possibly be selected for the character games in the ensuing year. So we'll provide the guidance and support. We work also closely with the Ministry of Sports in having the athletes benefit from the physiotherapy services that is made available for the athletes at the national level.
And
in addition to that,
how is the Athletic Association influencing the coaching aspects of these athletes? If you're identifying them so early in September, what is there in train to assist the athletes through their coaches, through their schools or national coaching to ensure that their program, their strength training and all of that is kept and timed in such a way that they peak at the right time?
Well, we have ongoing professional development with our coaches. And in addition to that, we have a collaborative approach, especially for this year being the character year. We have a number of our senior coaches guiding our junior coaches in the preparation of the athletes towards the championship. So between September to December, what we sought to do is bring these athletes together from time to time where they can benefit from the expertise of some of the senior coaches, but also when they return to their varying clubs or schools, they are given guidance as to what can and what should be done within a particular phase of their preparation.
The track has been laid, the main 400-meter track at the stadium. I'm told that the practice track or the warm-up track is not complete yet. Is that your understanding?
Yes, we understand that the warm-up track will not be ready for the Arise National Champ, but we have made have contingencies in place for the warm-up of the athletes, which will be completed at one of the fields close to the National Stadium.
Okay.
Okay. We want to talk a little bit more about on the program for Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of March in terms of the timing, the start of the program, the proceedings on those days, the cost to patrons. Let's talk a little more about that. Give us details on this.
Okay, so the championship begin on Saturday at 11 a.m. The program will entail a mixture of I'll feature the athletes in the sprint events, the 200 meters, in the throws, as well as the jumps. So throughout the entire day, patrons will be able to view or witness athletes compete in either the running events, the throwing events, and as well as the jumps. On Sunday, it's a similar setup where we begin at 11 and then we go into the heats. We'll start with the heats on a daily basis. And then later on in the afternoon, from about 3, we'll have the finals. The cost of the admission for the event, the finish line tickets go at $30. General admission to the main stand would be at $20 and bleachers at $10.
Okay, Chris, you mentioned a new track. Is there any advantage for the athlete running on a new track for the first time? Is it faster, slower? I mean, it's like, I don't know. Could you tell us a little about tracks being laid and why, in fact, that we needed to upgrade the existing track? It got worn out, it has to be thrown away. Explain the whole track science to us, Coach Hippolyte. Hippolyte, yeah. The track, the previous track basically exhausted its time. So what we found happening is that in some of the areas,
that was the high traffic areas, the track was being worn away in those areas. So areas like the javelin and so forth, with the longer spike studs of the athletes, that area of the track was being started to wear away. The paintings, that the line markings started to fade, and there were serious the integrity of the track deteriorated. You had damages to the track for a number of for varying reasons. So it was essential that if we, as a country, to maintain our World Athletics stadium standard, that the track was necessary. There's a need for the track to be repaired. When we speak to whether the track is a fast track or would come down to the type of material that is used for the surfacing of the track, and we promised that we've been identified, because we went through a process of vetting, taking proposals and investigating, meeting with some of the suppliers of tracks throughout, before we as a federation can make a recommendation to the government as to the best company to be used. And what some of the things, the factors that we had to look into was the weather, the type of weather that we have, and the material that the company will promise to procure for the laying of the track. In terms of the history, the history of the company who's going to provide the track. So a number of factors we looked into before making that final recommendation to the government, and government even assessing other companies who submitted proposals to for the laying of the track. So it's the company, they promised that based on when they look at the previous track, that they are able to provide a track that we would be satisfied with, and that the athletes will be able to perform at their best.
What are the costs of these tracks, though?
I was about to ask the PRO about the cost, and the more important thing is maintenance going forward, because this is a second track. I mean, we refer to
and use, because we have other events, not sporting events, using the facilities.
Yeah,
does that affect the quality of the track?
We want to sell the stadium and the track as an internationally rated standard,
right?
So that we could get international athletes that we had in the past come in and partake.
Yeah.
So, PRO, what in your view is required for maintenance going forward? Because the first one lasted us how many years? Based on what you may know.
Well, I think it's extremely important that in order to extend the life of the track, that we have, that we are able to do so in a strategic manner. That is, first of all, training of the staff, the local staff, in terms of maintenance, care of the track. In addition to that, and then from training of the staff, the ongoing monitoring and checks of the track, so that and that's one of the things that the company mentioned, that identifying when you have an issue, when you have a small issue, that you can deal with it, that ongoing maintenance, deal with it before it continues deteriorating, and you have further breakdown in terms of the integrity of the track. So that training of our local staff, and then the ongoing maintenance, being able to identify some of the issues.
Who will be paying for all of this, Brother PRO? Is it the government? Is it assisted by the Athletic Association? Who pays for all of this?
It's the government, because the facility, the venue, essentially is the government facility. So essentially, the government would work with the stadium authority to ensure that these structures are in place, guided by the Athletic Association as a major stakeholder in ensuring that we can, lengthen and have as much possible a long lifespan for the use of the track.
So when
you mentioned,
When we
what
charge
was
for
mentioned
events,
previously.
when we charge for events, the ordinary Grenadians shouldn't complain because they need to understand to get the best performance, we need the best in terms of equipment, including the track.
Oh yes, but and see, and that's why as a people, we also have to change our mindset also in terms of when we go to the facility and venues of that nature, that we care the facility, and that we do not see it as a means of that we should destroy. We should not take care of it because we do not see that we're directly paying, but indirectly the cost is really on
All of us.
the Grenadian citizen. So it is very important that we change our mindset into how we care for our public facilities and how we take care of the assets of Grenada, and that must trickle down to from the groundsmen at the National Stadium to the patrons who attend the venue to know that disposal of garbage, because there are some of the drinks and so forth can also assist in deteriorating the track. So it's our mindset, how we treat our facilities, how we go about using those facilities will be important moving forward.
Well, earlier on, Chris and I were talking about transport, this event is going on Saturday, and it's going into Saturday evening late, and it's starting on Sunday late morning, 11 o'clock, and it's going into Sunday afternoon. Public transport. How, if I live in Guelph and I want to come and attend these sports, and there's no public transport, you see, so, but is there any arrangement for public transport to the games, Kwesi?
No, we don't have arrangements to read public transport. But what we've noticed over the years is that the true track and field fans, the fans from the varying parishes, they would hire and carpool in some instances, hire buses to attend the games to give this sort of support to the clubs in the varying areas. And that's something that we've always been appreciative for. Especially for our patrons, the parents and so forth, who would come from the rural communities to provide that support to their sons and daughters.
How has the support from Ariza been in terms of criticality in carrying out the sports? I know this is Ariza's 5th year sponsoring the sports. How important is that for this event?
Ariza provides not just the financial support, but they also assist in the actual execution of the games, as well as providing the assistance in the background in whatever way that they can. So from the onset, Ariza, once the staff is critically involved, they're always involved in the execution of the games, and that's something that they from the onset that they sought to ensure that they are able to have their staff not only participate but learn about the meet, and over the years we've seen as the sponsorship grew and evolved that they were able to add additional aspects to their sponsorship.
That's a second and third. That's like not this weekend, there's a following weekend. So it's very important, and we want viewers to note this. But Kwesi, of course, Carifta Games. Tell us about the preparation for that, and where it's at, and what the expectations are at this stage.
Well, we are in our final stage of preparations for the Carifta Games. We anticipate that the participation of the regional countries will be will be at its largest.
Kwame, yeah.
We had the first deadline of for numerical entries today, and we are really looking forward to the participation from all the varying territories. So most of all of these systems are in place. We are just at this time making sure the final touches are in place in terms of transportation, accreditation, as well as accommodation. Some of the critical aspects of the games prior to the actual day of execution. We promise the patrons to have a character that's friendly, fan friendly. So from the introduction of the athletes and so forth, the experience that they will have at the stadium, it's really and truly going to be a real local technical team for the games, and we are using the Arise National Champs intercall games as the test for this test of the system for the character games, and we're really looking forward to that experience. The Grenada Board of Tourism, Grenada Tourism Authority, they are really working to with us to ensure that the experience of the fans throughout the sessions, throughout the games, is one that is memorable, and the team is really putting all efforts to ensure that we execute the games that the athletes will leave lasting memories, as well as the patrons that will be attending the games.
That's great, and Kwame, we look forward to having further discussions on that as the games come closer. So I want to thank you for being with us. That's all the time we have. We want to thank you very much, Kwame Hippolyte. He's a PRO for the Grenada Athletic Association. We want to thank you very much,
sir.
and have a good evening. Chris, this is the end of the program. Time is up. I mean, interesting music, sports.
We just didn't have food in it. Music, food, and sports. But you never know. We may have food at Carifta.
I hope so.
Mix it with some music.
It's part of the culture, you know.
I don't know what Kwame and them planning of, but it would be interesting to see what happens if it's going to be a Carifta lasting memories. So.
Viewers, thank you. Good evening. That's all the time we have. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week, same time. Good evening.
Good
Bye-bye.
evening.